What's up, people? We are back. A2TP podcast, episode 78. As y'all can see, we are new background, new back set.
Hey.
Chilling. It's your boy, International Walk.
It's your girl, Tash, the co-hostess with the mostest.
Yep.
And I'm on the opposite side from you than usual.
Yeah.
But
I don't know if I like it, though.
I like it. It feels good.
I don't know if I do.
I'm on your left.
I know, but I'm trying to feel it out.
You always got a killer to the left of you.
It feels like a little bit weird. But what's up, y'all? Episode 78. We back. We are outside. We on
outside.
our deck and just chilling.
Like what Beyonce say?
I don't know, but you stopped me from my
Go ahead.
intro. We outside. We just chilling. So we coming to y'all episode 78. You guys can catch us on A2TP.com. You can catch us on Twitter. You can catch us on Facebook. You can catch us on YouTube. You can catch us on Instagram. You can catch us on Anchor. You can catch us on Breaker. You can catch us on Google Podcasts. You can catch us on Breaker,
Radio Public,
Instagram, a couple other. If I forgot any other ones, we're on those too. So, what's up?
Beyonce said, "You outside, but you ain't that outside." Worldwide hoodie with the mask outside, in case you forgot how we act outside.
Okay. Okay.
So let's be real, y'all. We're gonna tell y'all because we're transparent, and we believe everything happens for a reason. I know that's very cliche. Also, something that was said to us before, and this is free. What you call it, free jewelry?
Mm-hmm.
It had to happen that way. So in life, sometimes things happen, and to just be completely honest, we had a recording blunder, but everything happens for a reason. So here we are, and we're doing something that we typically, anybody that knows us knows how serious we are about our date night. And that's our special time between us. We don't share that with anybody else. It's just us, whether we get all dialed up and we have 5-star dinners, or we look like truck drivers and we go grab some pizza and wings.
She looked like a truck driver, not me.
But it's our date night. We don't usually spend it with anybody, but guess what? We're spending it with you, or at least we're dedicating it to you. So we just wanted to take this time, give you something a little different. And what we learned in this experience is we had to pivot. Things didn't happen the way that we intended to, but again, everything for a reason, and we're gonna make the best of it. It ain't gonna break us, and we're gonna have an amazing show. We hope you enjoy this episode. Leave us some comments, feedback, like, share, tell your friends, subscribe, follow.
Like, share, subscribe.
Suscribe.
Like, subscribe, share. Like, subscribe, share.
Suscribe.
So, yeah.
How are you?
What's up? How are you?
I am doing good. I feel great. I feel great. Mentally I'm an 8, and that's where we're mentally I'm an 8. We're in a good space. I'm in a good space. I feel good. I'm an 8.
What's finances looking like?
Finances are a 9. I know I always say a 10, but I'm gonna say a 9 because we got a lot of things going on, good things going on. And I know that, you gotta work hard to play hard, and we do work hard. We're gonna play a little hard, and it's gonna take not all play, but just things we want to get done. So I'm gonna just say a 9.
Yep. Do what you gotta do so you can do what you want to do.
Yep. Work's an 8. Work is work. This week kind of like caught me off guard, and I lost some of my work-life balance. So I can be transparent. I take accountability of that. I don't blame it on anybody else but myself, and I have to reset and be back on it because I don't like that. I don't like that feeling of feeling like I'm going from work to cooking to bed. Like, I like to be able to spend time with you. I like to just be able to spend time with myself and relaxing, but that's nobody's fault. Again, I take accountability for that, but that's where we were with work.
Physicality.
Physically, I'm probably a 7.
You feel like shit?
No, I don't feel bad, but I don't feel as great as I should. And again, I take accountability. I just got to get the moving. That's it. Like, no, nothing all crazy.
When you take accountability on camera, you have your feet held
I
to the
know.
fire.
So y'all, yeah. And you know what? I got to give a shout out to, having people in your life who do hold you accountable. And I mean, adults shouldn't have to babysit other adults. But thanks to my girl Crystal, one morning, she texted me like, "Hey, you up?" Because she was doing the walking thing, and she's been really good at being consistent. And so that's I gotta get back on that. But again, be accountable for myself, because I'm an adult. Shouldn't need somebody to text me every morning.
Right.
So yeah, but I mean, I'm a 7, but I'm gonna get back to it.
Okay.
And yeah, that's about it. How are you?
I'm good. Mentally, I am posing about a 9 right now.
Oh, that's great.
I'm a little geeked about what we're doing here.
It feels
always
good.
good to be in front of you, and good to see you smiling.
You look
I'm
good.
cooling off. I was hot.
Yeah.
So yeah, mentally I'm a 9.
Oh, good.
What's next?
Financially?
Financially, nueve. 9's there too.
Okay. How's work going?
Work is okay. It ain't the greatest, but that's probably an 8.
Okay.
Physicality, I feel good. I feel like a 9.
Oh, you popping it. That's
What y'all
average.
feeling like out there? What y'all numbers? Y'all doing y'all numbers out there? Because, we told y'all about that a while ago. Make sure y'all still doing y'all numbers.
And it's kind of like doing self-inventory. So even if what I think is a good idea, and you know what? I don't do it myself. We do it when we're on the show, but I don't do it myself. But I'm going to start just, as a form of self-inventory to just gauge my own feelings, see where I am, and why I am that way, why I'm feeling that way. I think that's a good tool. I like that you've incorporated that. Y'all probably thinking too, like, why we got on like sweats and stuff, because we outside, the bugs, we don't want to get bit up. So
the tiki torches, all that. It's,
yeah.
It's an ambiance, a vibe. I don't even like that word, but it's
it
a vibe.
is a vibe. It is a vibe.
Yeah. It's an ambiance. That's what it is. Wows and woos.
My wow this week, I think it's just us. I'm just really going to attribute my wow to being us. We talked about couples therapy before with y'all. I'm gonna put my top on my water so no bug go in there. We talked about couples therapy before with y'all. Initially, we was introduced to couples therapy as premarital therapy, and it was great. And then as we got married, we went, we did it for a while. I don't want to say we fell off. We paused for a moment intentionally, and then we got back into it, and then paused again, and then we got back into it. But I like the fact that we have noticed improvement in our relationship in terms of those areas of opportunity, communication, and so forth. Nevertheless, we got back to it, and we just had a really great week. We had an awesome conversation today, like no issues going on, but just business that we need to handle. And I love the fact that my husband is not just my husband, he's my partner, he's my friend, and I can give him some tough love, some constructive feedback, and just I love the partnership that we have. So we are my wow this week.
And you just now being able to accept some constructive criticism and some feedback.
Constructive feedback.
Yeah.
Constructive criticism has a negative connotation. I think that's probably why people push back from it.
Well, you think it has a negative connotation.
Well, criticism is negative. Feedback.
Yeah, but there's also good criticism.
It's
There's
still
good
feedback.
criticism. Yeah, but it's still...
It just sounds better.
It's semantics.
But it
is what
sounds
is.
better. And sometimes is what, people receive it in that way.
Got you.
And my whoa, not to belabor the issue, but we consistently talk about the violence that happens around the world, and just to still see things happening. It's like, in Philly there were cops that were shot, and where's that, Highland Park? Is that Illinois? The shooting at the parade. And we may have some further discussion about that too, but that was just my woe. Like, this world, as much as we like to do and go out, I was even scheduling a girls' date with a couple of my girls, and we were talking about locations, and I don't think she would care, but I'm not gonna say who it was. One of them messaged me like, she sent me a story about a shooting at Penn's Landing, and she was like, I'm kind of leery about, going into the city. She lives out of state. She was like, I'm kind of leery about it. She was like, I don't want to be no punk. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. And it's a shame we got to think like that. But that has just been weighing on me a little bit, because even in our life, we've been having to find alternative things to do, because not to sound all touristy like the white people, like, oh, we like coming into the, but we do. Philly is our home, and we,
And we
a
hung
lot
out
of
there
great
every
restaurants,
weekend. Yeah,
and
it's got the best restaurants, and we
Yeah.
hung out there avidly. So, yeah, it's fucked up that it just takes away that. And as we were younger, I guess that thought didn't pop up in our heads as often.
but you gotta move
But
differently.
yeah, you have to, because like I always say, and remember me saying this, anywhere crowds gather, that type of shit can happen. That's where these people are going to do this kind of shit, is where crowds gather.
Yeah.
So not to scare people, not to hide you in your house, but move accordingly.
Yeah. How about you? What's your wild for this week?
My wild for this week is us. I can piggyback on that and say that it's been a good week. My gripe would be, the pushback is remember how good this feels when anger sets in.
Don't do that though.
Don't do what?
Like, why you gotta look at the negative? Just live where your feet are.
I can't have a thought.
You can have a thought,
So this is my thought.
but you don't have a gripe in the middle of a good moment. But go ahead, this your thought.
Why did you interrupt it then?
I apologize.
So that's just my thought. Like, that's what I think. So I understand what you're saying, but that's just I think. And I think I'm on my show and I can share that.
You can.
That I think that, just I want to remember this and how it feels when anger sets in. That goes for you and me. I'm not just saying
What
you.
if
I'm
we
not
never get
talking to
angry
you.
again?
Then fine. Then disregard what I just said.
Okay.
But that's my thought, and we transparent, and I'm gonna share it. Is that okay?
Yeah, it's perfectly fine. But I
Okay.
just would like to give the message to you that you've given very often. Live where your feet are.
I am, and I'm right here, and I'm living where my feet are,
Enjoy
and it
the
feels
moment.
good.
Okay.
Okay.
Wish you
But
luck.
I have other thoughts and opinions. My woe is, a friend of mine was having his first kid, and his girl had a miscarriage, and yeah, it's sad for him and sad for me because I feel for him, and that's it. A lot of stuff has happened to him in his life, and he's looking forward to this, and that just kind of burst his balloon. So shouts out to my friend. I love you, and I'm here for you, bro.
Yeah, that's very difficult. Prayers for the family. So, people encounter things in their life that can shake them.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that, watching one of the podcasts that you like and you kind of turned me on to, someone was talking about prayers being removed from school back in the 50s, and how that has contributed to some of the dysfunction in current day. So like it being removed from school, and we know regardless of what your religion is, religion period, it instills in us a foundation, some morals, ethics, values, a level of respect, a
Core
level
values.
of discipline.
It's the first thing you probably fear is God.
Right. So do you think that when people are missing that foundation, that it makes it a little more difficult to deal with some of life's obstacles, like because it shapes you so bad you don't have anything to hold on to?
For speaking for me, yeah, I would agree with that statement. But everybody doesn't grab onto religion when they're young. So sometimes it's not even a part of people's lives. So I can't say for other people that's what it is. But for me, yeah, being introduced to God young by my grandmother in church, it does give you some sense of core values of what you should be doing, and it kind of gives you not like almost like
you.
yeah, it's like Big Brother's watching. It makes you feel like that. Like no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, he watching. At least that's what I was taught. Even in the dark, even in your sneakiest moments, he watching. So that's always on your conscience when you taught that when you're young. Even if you get away from your mother, get away from your father, your big brother, whatever, you come down to it.
You know
God
what it
watching.
is, right?
What?
It says it in the Bible.
Yeah, so
Raise up a child in the way he should go. He will not. Don't quote me because I might be quoting it wrong, but he'll remember.
Yeah,
That's basically what it comes down to.
yeah, so the fact that I grew up
Sorry,
with that.
Bible scholars, I messed that all up, but y'all get what I'm saying.
Yeah, the fact that I grew up with that, it gave me a sense of fear. Like, okay, if you don't fear nothing else, fear God. Because you're taught you're going to burn in hell for certain things that you do.
See, for me, yes, the same thing, but not so much. It's almost like one of them things where it's like, and I don't want to say this from a selfish perspective, like, oh, because you've done so much for me, but it's almost like, God, I know how good you are to me. I don't want to disappoint God.
But that was,
But still a fear.
that's later in life though.
Yeah,
Because as a
yeah.
kid, you don't know that. You don't,
No,
as a
absolutely.
kid,
Absolutely.
you haven't witnessed God in your life that way.
Right.
You know what I
agree.
mean? You
I
have no
agree.
reference point for that. That happens when you're older and you actually see him in your life, and it's like, holy shit, like this wouldn't have happened without God.
Yeah.
Like no
That
person could
level
have
of
did this.
respect is just there. And not to say I don't know personally any atheists. I do know some people who have not been raised with any religious foundation. So not saying they don't believe in God, they just haven't been introduced to any particular religion, any kind of spirituality, and it kind of I think it's harder to really determine what path you're going to take or what you're going to believe in, because learning something as a child and it being like instilled in you, and you kind of growing in that thing, you learn more. And not to say people don't change their religions or change, their spiritual path, but I think it's just that much more difficult when you're grown and trying to find a way, because it's almost like trying to teach an adult to, and y'all know my religious stance, so I'm not being disrespectful or blasphemous, but it's almost like trying to teach an adult to believe in a fairy tale, because we can't see God, and you have to, that faith is believing in something unseen, and trying to convince an adult to do that, I can imagine that being difficult.
Speak up a little bit. There's no microphones out here.
Yeah, so I'm extremely grateful for the foundation that I have, and for those people who may not have that, who encounter obstacles, I can definitely imagine them having a hard time. And because when you're shaking, like again, you think about a foundation, you think about your roots, you think about a tree that's shaking, it has roots, so even in the toughest wind, it's still going to stand up. But if you don't have any roots and foundation, that wind come along, blow you right away.
Yeah, it'll knock you right off your rock. You got no reference point. You just like out there in the wind. At least religion early in your life, it just gives you a line. And you can come off the line, you can get crooked, but you know that the line's always there.
And
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it like you mentioned, your grandmom, taking you to church, and that was how I got introduced to, through my grandparents. My mom may have went to church, I probably can count on one hand. Like she would come for like events sometimes, or like our choir concerts and stuff like that, but she was not a regular church goer in our life. I think as a child she went, but not in our life.
No, my mom was a call on God when something's wrong type of person.
My mom
my
wasn't
nana
even
was
that.
I'm just sitting here listening to gospel all day, singing my hymns, crying, and doing what I'm doing because it's Sunday, and that's just what I do after church. So, yeah, that's how she was.
But it's weird because I think, too, like you mentioned, your mom, my mom, and then our generation, I think, was kind of... So, our generation was introduced into church through grandparents, but I think then we encountered that generation where they didn't instill that in their children. Like I think parents in our generation, they kind of have, a lot of them have that mentality of allowing their kids to find their own way. And not to say that's right or wrong, and I don't want to speak from a parental perspective because obviously I'm not a parent, but what I've never understood is, if I am any religion, right? Any religion, this is my firm foundation, this is what I believe in, this is what I stand on. Why would I not instill that in my children?
Because you have to take individualism into account. Everything that's not one of those things. Religion is an individual thing. It should be that person has to go to God. It's not something that's given, that's saying that's the part about church that I rebelled against and I had questions about. Is like, why are you going to sit me down and you telling me that I have to like this guy? You telling me that I have to do this, when all of this stuff, like, give me the real. All of this stuff is man-made. So just tell me that I need to find God in some type of way, whatever works for me. Because Christianity might not work for me. It worked for you, mom, or you, dad, but it doesn't work for me because I rebuke some of the stuff that you believe in, and I find more comfort over here in Islam, or I find more comfort over here in Buddhism, or I find more comfort over here in being a Jew. it varies, and you have to look at individualism. Now, do I think it's nothing wrong with instilling, a path for your kid when he's young? But religion is an individual thing. It's not like, oh, now don't get me wrong. So, you see some families now who are Muslim and their whole family are Muslim. Their sons and daughters are born Muslim and all that kind of stuff. So I get that part of it. But let's not act like religion is not an individual thing.
I don't agree.
Okay.
Like, I just feel like if I know...
I don't agree with you.
No, that's fine. I'm just stating my... Obviously not.
Right.
I'm just stating my point. If I feel... as an adult, of course, you can't force it on an adult. But if I have children, I'm going to raise my children to believe what I believe if I think this is the right thing to do. I'm not going to say I think this is the right thing to do, but I'm going to let y'all figure it out on your own.
Okay.
I'm going to teach them this. Now, when you become of a certain age and you start to have questions and there's a different path you want to explore, I don't think
then that's the happy medium. So I'm fine with that. Like I said, I acknowledge the fact that you're starting off with some structure and you put religion in the kids in their life. It happened to me.
But that's
okay
what I'm saying.
with
A
that.
lot of parents aren't even doing that.
Right. Of that
part.
generation.
Right. Where
Yeah.
they aren't instilling anything.
But I'm saying I understand that too, because it is an individual
But
thing.
if you know that it's right for you and you feel like this is the way Jesus Christ is the way, the truth, and the light, or if you think
what do you do if it just doesn't register with your kid?
No, what I'm saying is, if you feel that way, why would you not teach it to your kid? Because as a child, they don't know that it doesn't register. They don't even care.
What if it doesn't register to them? What if they start questioning the stories that you're telling them? What if they don't dive feet first into their Bible? What if they don't understand why you're telling them?
They probably won't do that until they're like 17, 18 anyway.
So then what are you doing then?
You're planning the foundation.
Right, but what if I'm saying, what if they rebel against that? What if they not feel in church? What if they never want to go? What if it's always a problem? Like, and you got other kids who accept it, but you got other kids who don't, or who say, okay, I'm down with going. I'm not down to going to church, Mom, but I want to go to the mosque on Friday. At least he wants some religion. He's not saying I want to be an atheist.
For me, as a child, they wouldn't have an option. And once you're 18,
I hear you.
Then of course, and I'ma still love my kid, but you wouldn't have an option as a child.
Right. So how would you feel if you taught that to your kid and you made him do all that stuff, and then he grew up 18 or 16 and became a Muslim, and you was like, what happened? And it was like, okay, this is what I felt comfortable, and I did that stuff for you. Like, I don't believe in that. I believe in this.
That it changes as some. I mean, that's all I can do. I mean, as an adult, I can't force them. But I can only take accountability and I think in the Bible, and I think this is true in Islam too, a parent is responsible for the spiritual guidance of their child up to age 12. I don't know why 12 is the age, but I think that's what the Bible says.
I know why 12 is the age, because religion is an individual thing. That's why 12 is the age, because a person has to come to God. At least that's what I was
Well, that's
taught.
what I'm saying. Some parents don't even take responsibility up to age 12. Like,
right.
they never.
They don't, but you got parents who push God on people up until they 12, and it's like, okay, a person has to come to God. You can't just force it on them. And we know that through experience. There's some people that just ain't ready. So that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, I've never, I hear what you're saying. I haven't really, I haven't really experienced that with anybody personally that I know, but yeah, it's just one of them things that is always interesting to me.
Stories in the news, these two first stories tie in together. Where everybody talking about the YSL RICO indictment trial. You heard about that, right?
Yeah, why are they called YSL again? I mean, because when I think of YSL...
Young Slime Life.
Oh, okay. Y'all might have known that. I think of YSL as like the fashion brand. Okay.
No, Young Slime Life is YSL.
Okay.
All right.
Not Yves Saint Laurent. In this case.
Y'all excuse my baby for being like...
I'm just not
out
that...
the culture. She don't even know what YSL means. And she does a current event podcast. That's another story, though.
No interest in those people.
Gunna, his co-defendant, was a nurse was locked up trying to get him cocaine and weed in the jail.
So
and they not even in prison, like they in Fulton County Jail, and like you got ties like that where a nurse who works for Fulton County will just risk her job to.
But let's not. let's not get it twisted. I don't think you necessarily have to have ties like that, because I think just your name itself, I think he probably could have had his pick of litter of nurses or COs who would have tried to do the same thing,
He
just
can put like
because of who they are.
20,000 in your account just like that.
Exactly. I have my friend. Or who knows? He may. Yeah. I don't think it's something like, oh, you got ties like that. I think it was probably very easy for him to coerce someone.
Well,
to
when
do
I say
it.
ties like that, that's what I mean. Like,
Oh, okay.
You know, you have the resources, and somebody would risk their job
I'm
just
not
to get
surprised.
you drugs in there. That lady could have worked there 10 years.
Yeah,
Now all of a
she
sudden
looks
there's
very
one.
young.
Yeah, but all of a sudden this one guy comes in and you risk health benefits, job, jail, and all that just to get somebody drugs in.
I'm not surprised, but you know the sad part, which kind of like stuck out to me, is I heard a lot of conversation from people, and I may be wrong, so I'm gonna say some names that I might be wrong. I think Kevin Lyles had like spoke out on his
Thugger,
behalf.
yeah, not
Okay.
Gunner, at Thugger. It's two different people.
Okay, well, I don't know who spoke for who, but I know there were people that were speaking up for these gentlemen. You know, they're great young men. They're taking care of their family, parts of the community, which may all be true. But at the same time, if you're living this criminalistic life, which if you've requested this young lady to do this, may be evident that you are partaking in criminal activities. It's like it's just a smack in the face to all these people that have been trying to speak up. Oh, let them out on bail, blah blah. And again, I don't know if the request and the out. I don't want to say outcry, because I don't know if it's been that deep, but if it's been for both of them. But it's like, come on,
both
now.
of their bails were denied this week.
How much were their bills?
In the millions or something like that. Kevin Lyles is the one that went to Gunner's his bail hearing and spoke and said he would put up his money, and that Young Thug has the money to get out, but they still denied him. Gunner is another dude who is his co-defendant that Kevin Lyles, he didn't speak up for him, but he was at Young Thug's bail hearing and was on the stand talking about him. He actually cried too.
Wow.
So, you know, just saying he support him and all that kind of shit, and that he would back him with his money, and he had about $1 million that it would cost to be on house arrest, have cops, have security, because you got to pay that shit out your own pocket.
Is that for everybody or just for, I mean, does everybody have to pay to be on house arrest?
Yeah, but it's a restitution thing with an average Joe. A person with millions of dollars, they present that as an option because it takes away you being a flight risk because you put up this money. So if you gonna pay for the cops to be at your place for, you know, to make sure you in the house and all that kind of shit, then we don't think you're gonna get on a plane and go to fucking the Cayman Islands.
People with disposable income may be like, shh, wow, I mean, it's a shame. I feel even more sorry for this young lady who threw away not just her freedom, but her career. Like, let's say she don't get a whole bunch of time, right? You were a nurse. I would, whichever level of nurse. My sister's a nurse. I have a respect for that profession. You know, you went to nursing school. You paid money, tuition. You got student loans, maybe. Again, you're a nurse, and then you throw away your licensure for what he offered you $20,000. Like, nurses during the COVID period, you could have made that money in a month, or, you know, working some extra shift somewhere. Like, to throw your life and your career away, that's crazy.
And it's a stereotype that it's in the black community that everybody always looking to cut a corner. Like urban areas, urban people, the way we grew up, our generation. Even if somebody was doing good, they still would like buy food stamps or just like, you know, cut some kind of corner, do something that they're not supposed to be doing. Although they're not hurting nobody, but it's still something you're not supposed to be doing. And it just seems like that's a stereotype of the urban area and urban people. What's some of the stereotypes you think are from other geographical areas about other people? You like, you know, I heard like a Chinaman is the only, I'm sorry, an Asian person is the only race or nationality that can be anywhere in the world and not be questioned. Like, you never go anywhere in the world and think, damn, what the hell is an Asian man doing here?
Because they've kind of placed themselves throughout the world.
Right.
You know, even in Jamaica.
But any other nationality, you would say, Like, what the hell is a Jamaican here? What the hell is black people doing here? What the hell is a white person doing here if it's predominantly black?
Right.
But you never ever, and although Asian people had Chinese stores in the hood, like we never questioned why they were here.
Asian people had Asian stores, because that's a stereotype in of itself that we all, and I think it's probably.
And I'm not trying to be rude or racist. It's just a bad habit. So
right, it probably also depends on how you were raised in your family, because you know in some families they always refer to as Asian people as Koreans, like the Korean nail
when
salon.
I was small, it was Orientals.
Yeah, and now I know that term that is an archaic term that was done away with. They
still can use it, but not talking about our nationality.
People, right? You use it in terms of Asian products, so an Oriental rug, Oriental
table,
vase, or something like that. But it's one of those things though where, depending on your family structure or like your family history, some people call it like the Korean store. Or the Koreans do your nails, and some people it's always Chinese. So growing up, it was always Chinese.
And I was going to say, right now in the hood, they call them Chino stores.
And well, that makes sense because
they don't call them Chinese stores. That when I talk to friends at work about
that's
Chinese
because
store,
they're Spanish, and Chino is Chinese in
right,
Spanish. So I don't know if black
stores.
people call it that.
Okay.
Spanish people call it that because that's Chinese.
Yeah, but that's weird though. They call them Chino stores.
But that's because that's how you say it in Spanish.
Okay.
Yes, I think black people still call them Chinese stores.
All right.
But another thing is like some may be Vietnamese, some may
Cambodian.
be but we just group them into either Chinese, or some people may call them. Like, I don't think we ever look at them and say, those Vietnamese people have a nice store. One of the things I've heard is that the laundromats that we see that are owned by Asian peoples, stereotypically that's a Korean thing. Now I don't know why the Koreans got the hold on the laundromat business, but for whatever reason,
that's what I want to know. What's the difference between the laundromat, the discount store, and the Chinese and the food store?
Yeah, why do they hone in on those
because there was a lot.
business
When we
types?
lived in Ambler, we used to go to the discount store. Well, I don't know who those. I thought they were Chinese people.
Yeah, I don't know.
But,
and I know for nail salons, there's Vietnamese and there's Cambodian girls and then I also know there are some Filipino nail salons. I've never been to one, but typically it's Cambodian or Vietnamese. But what I found out, they're racist against each other. Yeah, like
I know that from Joe Coy.
I learned that from me going to one nail salon, and the lady was telling me she wanted to go to a different nail salon. And when I mentioned a different nail salon in our old area that we lived in, she told me that those girls were Cambodian and they wouldn't let her work there because she's Vietnamese. I was shocked. But
so what's some of the stereotypes from other geographical areas that you notice? Other than ours being, they want the 5-finger discount and they want to get by.
Well, I mean, when you talk about geographical areas, like we think about down south, like you think about
slow, behind.
Well, you think everybody eats soul food.
Yeah.
You think everybody.
And that's a stereotype too. Like they say that they're slow. They say that they're a few years behind the north. It's the city people.
You're not slow in the sense of mentally.
No,
but
like I mean, slow in the sense of they're a few years behind.
It's almost like you think to yourself, like, stuff ain't traveling down 95 by foot. Like, why is it take? But it just takes longer for cultural changes to happen in those areas. Yeah. One of the things that I think
about. But it's weird because some cultural changes have never happened down there. Like places like Philadelphia, Mississippi, and Alabama. Like there's still real up in your face racial shit. And it's 2022. Like nothing has trickled down there in some areas.
Yeah, but you got places in Western Pennsylvania that still will light a cross and have their Friday night cross burning. So I mean, I think that's one of them things that we may never see it change. But another thing, California. So this is one thing we know about stereotypes is that they come from a place of truth.
Right.
California has that just living the life, free-spirited kind of connotation to it, which we were watching a podcast and Carrie Champion was on it, and she talked about being from California, and she, you know, she alluded to that, how coming from California, it's one of them things where
going to a place like Atlanta.
Yeah, but it's one of them things where it's like, as a black person, it can be great, but may also be a disservice. You know what I'm saying? May also be a disservice, because she said that she was kind of aloof of the racism in the world, because in California you kind of have that kumbaya, hands across America, every color of the rainbow. You're not saying there's no racism, but it's more of that still prolonged. In my mind, I think of it like Woodstock.
And people are proud to be in California.
Yeah, but
you're talking about a place where it rains 10 days a year.
I was gonna say, you know, another thing about California, if I could have grown up any place in America, I think I would have wanted to be from California.
I used to live there.
I know you did, and one of the main reasons is the sunshine.
Yeah, 85% of the time, like every year, it rains 10 days a year, and every other day it's 85.
In Southern California.
Yeah.
We know Northern California, they get snow, is different. But that's the thing, and it's not like Florida where it's baking hot. It's not like Texas. Texas is different.
Baking hot.
Yeah, but it's that
close to the desert.
California sun, but also the breeze, that free-spirited. We know it is proven. He did an episode before about SAD, seasonal affective disorder. It is proven that vitamin D is essential, and it improves our mood. That's why in the fall, when it's gray and it's gloomy, you know, you feel kind of miserable a lot of the times. And when it's sunny outside, you feel better because the sun is out. So that constant vitamin D, these bugs is out here trying to get us. That constant vitamin D, it just changes how you feel. So she said that, and it was like, okay, that thought about.
Yeah.
No, I know people living in Compton might. Even then, I think it's still a different vibe. You know, it's just a little more violence with the, you know, Crips and Bloods and stuff. But think about like a Tiffany Haddish.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she's from Compton, but it's that
an
different.
Yeah, she's a bit aloof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not in a negative way, but it's just a difference. Whereas like New York has that connotation of being very hardcore, fast-paced, aggressive, like, yo son,
yeah.
Like even the women, even the sexiest women, we think about like a Remy Ma.
Yeah.
Beautiful, sexy.
I was just watching
so
a podcast the other day, and it was saying, this guy was saying, I grew up liking girls in New York that told other niggas to suck their dick. Like that was just a cool thing, that a girl would be arguing with a nigga and be like, get out of my face, nigga, suck my dick. And the dude was like, I used to, when I was 16, 17, I loved girls who used to get at niggas like that. And it was like, but that was a New York thing.
Right.
You know, the girls that rocked the Timbs, that had the jackets like the dudes who talk like the dudes. Yo, son, what up, God? Like all that kind of stuff. And I think
in Philly, we probably kind of stole that swag a little bit. The girls tried to, where we wanted to have that look, but still maintain our femininity. I mean, of course, you still have some of the little ratchet bunnies who would talk like that, but we wanted.
In Philly, those girls were lesbian. If you went that hard. Guys looked at you like, whoa, you're a lesbian. Like, you really butch if you going that hard.
Right.
Because we didn't look at the girls in New York, the Remy Ma's and shit, when they was young, cursing like that and think that's sexy. Yeah. And got Timbs and shit on like dudes. That wasn't cool.
Like the Philly swag, you know, if you had on a flight jacket and even if you had on a sweatsuit, you know, a polo sweatsuit or something and some Timbs, you was going to have on big earrings and a fly hairstyle. You were going to make sure there was some feminine aspects immersed into your look. Yeah.
Where the girls in New York were different. It was like they really embodied that spirit of the dude on the corner.
Even if you had straight backs, you made sure you had your mascara, your lipstick, and your big hoops or something. Like, you wanted to make sure you wasn't giving Cleo vibes. If you wasn't on Cleo vibes.
Cleo from Set It Off.
Yeah, if you wasn't on Cleo vibes, you wanted to make sure you just kind of separate, like, no shade to those giving Cleo vibes, but if that wasn't the type time you were on, you even still, you want to make sure that separate that a little bit.
Like you just mentioned that these places we talking about. Where else would you like to grow up? You said California, but could you live abroad, like Vietnam? When we talked about the Vietnamese people, Cambodia. Like, do you think you can grow up in a place like that where you know I'm giving up a lot from America and I just need essentials and I'm just gonna be like not kind of off the grid, but a minimalist.
Okay, so this is my this may be very naive of me. I think although black people, we know how we're treated here in America, but we're part of America. Unfortunately, we may stem from Africa just like so many other places, but today, current black Americans, we are assimilated to African culture. We're American.
Right.
So we can move and we know how to be within American culture. But being a black person in a different culture, I think it's harder.
Okay.
Like being a black person in France, being a black person in Spain, being a black person, I think, now I know in some areas like Dubai, they have a huge expatriate community where, everybody is not from Dubai and they live in these communities. So it's kind of different because everybody's a foreigner. But if you like are in a culture where you're the black person standing out, like I've watched shows on like what's those house hunters, and it'll be like House Hunters International, where someone may go to Vietnam to be an English teacher at a school in town somewhere. I think that is hard as hell.
Right.
To be, because you really stand out and you don't know how to move as a black person in those cultures. We know how to move as a black person in America. We know how to be careful in certain areas. Unfortunately, we know how to. We just know how to be.
I think you know how to move. I just think you would move with your guard up, and then after a while you would realize that it's not necessary because not everywhere I go am I looked at like I'm looked at in America. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Now, not if you went to fucking Norway or some shit like that, where it's 3% black people, or Maine or some shit, then you're gonna really feel like we do when we find a new place, a diner or something, and we drive up and be like,
we went to Tybee Island,
Georgia.
Fucking
parking here, and we done seen 4 white couples go in. They don't look like they. Nah, let's not go here.
Tybee Island, Georgia was probably one of our. We have been to a lot of places where we were the only chocolate chips and the vanilla pudding, and we felt fine. We didn't care, or we were one of very few. But that place was
Savannah, right?
Well, it was outside of Savannah. We went to Savannah for dinner, and it was fine in Savannah. But when we were on the island, it was very clear, like,
They didn't say good morning.
Nothing.
And I swear, we looked outside and saw, 10 families in the pool, all white. We went outside, got in the pool. Within 40 minutes, probably not even that, 30 minutes, everybody was gone.
Yep.
And then
this happened on a couple occasions.
And a Spanish a family had came out, and we were the only 2 there.
Yep.
Us and the Spanish people.
Yeah. So that happens. But where a place where I think I would have liked to have grown up, and this is going to sound very broad, but in one of the Caribbean islands, like, and I know,
You talking about slow down
well,
south.
I know they're very, economically, they have some struggles, but the people of Jamaica, and I don't want to sound bougie, like, well, I would have wanted to be a wealthy family, but I probably would have wanted to be.
You have to be in those countries.
Yeah,
because you don't want to be one of the people we met at the hotel. They go back to shacks.
Yeah, but Jamaica, I don't even want any of the Black Caribbean islands. That just lifestyle, growing up on the water, the slowness there, and I'm only saying this in hindsight. It's almost alluded to a sense of peace, where the slowness down south gives more of a feeling of being held back.
Yeah, better not move too fast.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like that. It
like
feels
not
like
sure I can
they're
do this
slow
yet.
on their own time, where down south feels like they're slow because they're being held back. That's at least that's the perception that it gives.
Right.
I ain't never lived down south. I ain't never lived in the islands. But if I could have been raised anywhere, but when we talk about black people feeling or looking out of place when the war in Ukraine happened, and it was the story about the black people. Now I know they were students who were living there and they were trying to get out of Ukraine, and how they were treating them. You think to yourself, black people in Ukraine, and they were trying to get to Poland, and how do you think you're going to be treated?
Yeah, I mean, you're treated well because you're a student and you're an exchange student and you're
Until
there
you're not.
until you're not. Until war happens.
Yeah.
But that can be any race. A war happened. It's the
But that's what I'm
the most
saying.
worst thing that can happen in the country happened. It's being taken over and bombed by Russia. So yeah, there's gonna be some not so protocol things happen.
It's just not a place that I could ever imagine living.
No.
Where would you have?
I could live anywhere. I always told you since we were together, I could live in Omaha, Nebraska. I would have liked
where
to
would
grown
you
up
have liked to?
in South Africa. I would have liked to grown up there.
Even with apartheid?
Well, I don't want that.
I mean, but that's what was happening.
Maybe with no apartheid.
Wow.
But I guess if that's something to grow up with, I grew up with crack. So, you know.
But apartheid was like Jim Crow, like to the 10th power.
Why do you say to the 10th power was worse than Jim Crow?
I think so, because it was like...
It was genocides.
Yeah, and I think because...
But isn't that what it was here? They were trying to take out a race of people?
I don't know if they were necessarily trying to take out a race of people. Like, Jim Crow was one of them things where... it was bad, but it was more of a societal thing where... And we know that it trickled down into government and into other realms of life in terms of like banks not giving loans and stuff like that. Right, exactly. But there, it was like written, and it was like written into their law. I don't know. It was just, and it was longer. I think. I think it was
400 years.
Jim Crow didn't last for
But the Jim Crow was the tail end of it. I'm saying this stemmed from something that happened for 400 years. It seems like it was written in their law too, to treat us like that. So it's you saying the same thing to me. I hear the same things. I don't know. I'm saying it's longer because I hear 400 years.
Well, also I think too,
but it was written into America's law.
It came into more current day than Jim Crow. I mean, you think, we'll do some research to have, but I think I think apartheid may have ended in like the 80s, maybe
the 90s.
Okay, I didn't want to speak.
Yeah.
So you think to yourself, Jim Crow, again, even though we know, there's still banks and financial institutions and things like that, right?
George Floyd, like
right, but it's not. It's more so of a it's more of a societal issue than a systemic issue in terms of the government and laws. Like, laws have been changed even though people are still doing those things. But in South Africa, it was like part of the laws into the 90s. Can you imagine during our time, during our age, living through what our grandparents...
I could not imagine, but the pushback is that a cop sat on a guy's back on his neck until he died. And they still haven't passed that law 2 years later. The George Floyd Act still isn't passed. There's acts that, the Lynching Act hasn't even been passed. So there's like laws that you hear that are unheard of. Like there's still a law that people won't sign about lynching people. Like, are y'all serious?
But my thing is this, okay, and maybe I'm just ignorant to this. What law are we waiting for them to sign? Don't we know that lynching is illegal?
Just like you know that murder is illegal, but people still do it. So in certain states, mainly those states we were talking about, Mississippi, Alabama, those down south states, there hasn't been a senator or a Congress who has signed the law that was put back in the 30s or the 40s, saying that states can't lynch black people. That law in some states has not been signed yet in like 50, 60 years. So to them, it's saying that, okay, we're not going to say lynching is outlawed in our state. And this could be certain parts of Texas, certain parts of Alabama.
No. I think lynching is against the law. I think what they're waiting for it to do is to be deemed as a hate crime. But what I'm saying is...
No, babe, the Lynching Act has not been signed yet.
No, I know that it hasn't. The Anti-Lynching Act hasn't been signed,
And
which would deem it as a hate
No,
crime.
no, that's not what it is. It's not what it is. It's a law that I know has been open for like 60 or 70 years that white people, time after time after time after time, won't sign. Do the research after the show. They won't sign it because they don't want this particular state, and it's probably red states, who just don't want to say on the books that lynching is outlawed in this state.
Okay. So in the George Floyd Act, I couldn't get that out. What are we waiting for them to say? What's that law about?
I don't know. It was a law that's saying that you can't, something about the treatment of police. I mean, the treatment of a person from police, and how that type of act from the police is murder under any circumstances.
Oh, okay.
And since that's been almost 3 years, it's like 2.5 years, and that they still won't sign that. And what they keep doing with it is they take the law and they put in shit that we don't want as a community and give it back and say, now we'll sign it. And when you read the small print, it's like you're signing this, but you're throwing in some other shit that's going to fuck us up, that probably don't have nothing to do with the George Floyd stuff. Just some shit you want on the back end. So that's why that's still open.
Wow. I just feel like, again, with a part like don't get me wrong, current day of South Africa, that's on our bucket list.
California, I would have liked to stay in, but we came back to Pennsylvania. New York, I would have liked to grow up in New York to see like what that was like in the 80s and 90s. And that's probably it. Florida's too hot. Texas, I always thought was racist when I was growing up. None of the middle states like Oklahoma and shit like that. I mean, not that I wouldn't live there, but as long as I had you, I would go there. But yeah, but South Africa is a place like off the continent abroad that I would like to, would have liked to grow up in.
Yeah, I think that would be. There's a show called Young Rich Africans or something like that. And just, I mean, it's a ratchet show. It's kind of like on the level of like a Love and Hip Hop, but it's not about like Love and Hip Hop. But I think, well, it kind of is. But I think that gave me a different perspective, just to see like, what, people are people. But it's great to see these wealthy Black Africans. But they're from around the continent. There are some from South Africa, but
right.
I think
One
that's
particular
interesting.
from South Africa is a girl. A woman, I can't remember her name, but she was on the Breakfast Club, and she is the Charlemagne of South Africa.
Okay.
And she's on a popular morning show and does the same type of media thing he does, and it's as big as him. And I remember when she was on there, he was like, you came down to the Breakfast Club, you got Bentleys and security and all this stuff, and she was sitting there with minks and diamonds and shit on.
Oh yeah, they
and
are
she had
fabulous.
That accent, and she, it was like, wow, like South African people rich as hell, like over there doing their thing.
Well, I mean, of course, I think it's the same like here. Of course, you have those who are struggling financially, but yeah, to see that, because in America, I think we have a bad connotation. First of all, we talk about Africa as if it's one place, and not that it's 53 countries.
Right.
Like the United States is one country. Africa is a continent that has, more than 50 countries.
And my point was, he was asking her like, what's some of the differences, and she talked about y'all supermarkets is like a palace, number one, and she said the fact that damn, I lost the fucking point.
Pharmaceutical companies.
No, she was talking about the supermarkets is huge, and she said, I'm 35 years old, and I grew up around wealthiness all my life. She was like, there's poor people in South Africa, but you have to go to those areas. But she was like, me, since a little girl, my family always had it. So it was just like, damn, like, that's not going to happen with us. And the people that did, like in our generation, those were the people that lived in Lower Marion.
I was just about to say the main line.
You're a little bit affluent up there, but like she was like, I'm 35 years old, and like I always grew up with shit, and my dad and mom always had money. I always had the things I wanted. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Brittany Griner pleaded guilty in Russia because they said that the word is, the more you don't concede to guilt, like don't take accountability, that's why they keep pushing your court dates back and keeping you in jail.
So basically just want you to be guilty.
Yeah, but if you plead guilty, you face 10 years. So you don't fucking know if you're gonna get 10 years.
This is
Like, I wouldn't, in Russia, I don't think I would plead guilty to shit. I'm not signing any kind of paperwork in Russia.
So, okay, and y'all know,
Like, fuck
we
that.
keep it real, and I'm not blaming her for anything. I'm just asking questions. They said she had THC oil, right?
Yeah.
Is that illegal in Russia?
Yeah.
And for those who may not know, I know that this wasn't like her first time trip to Russia. She played
I actually
for
think that and I think I'm right when I say this. They were CBD vapes. I don't even think they were THC. They were CBD vapes, but that's still highly illegal in Russia.
Okay, so CBD vapes, illegal. This isn't her first time there. She knows that they're illegal because she played for their professional basketball team. So she's been traveling back and forth. So it's kind of like somebody getting locked up here for having vapes traveling through our airport, and you're in the U.S., and you know the law. I mean, it's one of them things, it's a messed up situation. Now, what I did hear, how they treat her unfairly, is that most people get like a fine or something, and they're trying to give her prison. So that part I do agree. They're really trying to, like, I think because of the political thing between Russia, Putin, and all of that, they're trying to railroad her. So it's messed up. And it's one of them things where it's like 6 in one hand, half dozen in the other. Do you really, really fight? And then it lets Russia know, like, they want her, so let's hold on to her. Or do you act like, we don't really care? And then how does it make her feel, and feeling like nobody cares, nobody's coming to get her, they're not trying to fight for her? It's a bad situation. I feel sorry for her and her family. Yeah, I know she has a wife and a child or children or whatever. So,
but I mean, at that point, you got to look at the long term and be like, I know you want out now, but I'm in a different fucking country, and I'm in the worst place, and I'm signing paperwork. That's just not it. I don't know what lawyer you have, but that's not advisable.
I was just about to say, is she allowed to have U.S.
I don't know, but I don't know what attorney you have or who you talk to, but I understand being locked up and wanting to be out now. I do get that. But if it ain't no guarantee that me signing this is going to get me out now, then I don't know what conceding the guilt in this place is going to get me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's
I don't know
scary.
what that means.
I seen pictures of
that
her.
That shit could get me shot. Like, I don't know signing that paper, what it says. It's in fucking Russian. Like, nah.
Yeah, I seen pictures of her. She literally looked like she was in a state of shock.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, nah. You believe in aliens?
I don't believe in them, but I don't not believe in them.
Holy shit. I believe in them, and I think that they're here. How about that? And don't give me that you listen to too much Joe Rogan shit. Like, you don't think aliens are here, babe?
I don't think they're here.
If space is infinite and we're on Earth, you don't think that there's nothing else out there?
No, I do think, but I don't. That's why I'm saying I don't necessarily believe in them, but I don't not believe in them. If there was some like hardcore proof that there were aliens, I wouldn't be like, I would be easy to convert to believing. Let's say that. Like, I don't think they're here on Earth, but I do think there's a possibility that they're out there. So that's where I am. Like, if this is believing and this is non-believing, I'm probably right here. Like, I'm not at the halfway mark. I'm more than halfway, but I ain't fully there.
I believe in aliens. I believe that they're here. I believe they're in our life form. And I don't know what's going to become of that, but I do believe that they're here. Yeah. We got to wrap this up.
We do. It's raining on us.
It's about to rain. It's going to rain on us.
It's raining on our heads.
Yeah, that's Act 2 the podcast, episode 78. Yeah.
I can't get it right. 78.
How you say it in Spanish?
78.
Ocho. Say it again.
78.
Ocho.
78.
Ocho.
Suscribe.
Like, subscribe, share. It's drizzling on us.
Yes, thanks for enjoying Date Night with the D's.
Act 2 the podcast, episode 78. If you fuck with us, you fuck with us. If you don't, you should. Peace.
Yeah.